Look at this person, sitting on a bathroom floor at midnight, calculator in hand, sweating over a pile of credit card statements. You see the panic, right? The overwhelming weight of debt that feels like a prison. Most people look at this and say, they're terrible with money. They should have just spent less. But I'm telling you, you've been lied to. You think they're in this mess because they can't do math? You think it's just about a lack of discipline? You couldn't be more wrong. You don't stay in debt because you're broke. You stay in debt because of a money script, a deep, hidden blueprint about your finances that was hardwired into your brain when you were just a child. That internal programming is pulling the strings, not your budget app. Today, we are going to stop staring at the spreadsheets. We are going to stop playing the blame game, and we are going to go deeper. We're going to dissect the psychology that keeps you trapped, the emotional hunger that drives your spending, and the invisible narratives that have been holding you back for years. This isn't another how-to guide on paying off your balance. This is an intervention for your mindset. Because if you don't rewrite your internal script, no amount of extra payments will ever truly set you free. Let's be honest. If debt were simply a math problem, nobody would have any. If it were just about earning more and spending less, every person with a six-figure salary would be living in total financial tranquility. But you and I both know that's not the reality. We see high earners, professionals, people who seem to have it all, drowning in debt just as deep as those struggling to make ends meet. Why? It's because of a silent, invisible force called lifestyle creep. Imagine this. You get a promotion. Your paycheck bumps up by $2,000 a month. What happens? Within 90 days, you've upgraded your car, moved into a better apartment, and suddenly you're eating at places you never even noticed before. Your expenses have risen to perfectly match your new income, and you're back to living paycheck to paycheck, only now your bills are just more expensive. Most conventional advice will tell you to track your spending. They'll show you a spreadsheet with a column for rent, utilities, and groceries. And sure, there's value in knowing where your money goes, but let's call it what it is. Tracking your spending is just treating the symptom. It's putting a bandage on a broken leg and calling it surgery. When you sit down to categorize your expenses, you're only looking at the what. You're asking yourself, how much did I spend on coffee? Or why was the electric bill so high this month? But you are completely missing the why. You are missing the root cause, the emotional, psychological engine that is actually fueling these transactions. Take a look at the typical debt payoff advice you see everywhere online. You've probably seen clips like this. Someone telling you to stop buying lattes, to cut up your credit cards, and to live like a monk until the balance hits zero. They focus on the behavior, on the transaction, and for a few weeks it works. You feel disciplined. You feel like you're finally in control. But then a rough day at the office happens, or you have a fight with your partner, or you just feel that nagging sense of inadequacy when you scroll through social media and see everyone else's perfect lives. What happens then? You don't reach for a spreadsheet. You don't pull out your budget. You reach for your credit card. You make a purchase. Why? Because that purchase, that new gadget, that quick delivery order, that spontaneous shopping spree is the only thing that gives you an immediate, tangible hit of relief. It's an emotional anesthetic. Debt, in this context, isn't a failure of calculation. It is a coping mechanism. It is a tool you use to manage your nervous system when the pressure of your daily life becomes too much to handle. When you treat debt as a math problem, you set yourself up for failure. You're asking your brain to solve an emotional crisis with an Excel formula. It's like trying to put out a forest fire with a cup of water. It doesn't matter how much you optimize your interest rates or which payoff method you choose, if you are still using your credit card to validate your worth or soothe your anxiety. The people who successfully stay debt-free aren't necessarily the ones who are the best at math. They're the ones who have identified their emotional triggers. They've realized that their spending isn't about the things they're buying, it's about the stories they're telling themselves. Maybe it's the story that I deserve this because I work hard, or I need this to prove I'm successful, or I need this to fit in. Those stories are the architecture of your financial life, and if the architecture's rotten, no amount of decorative paint is going to keep the roof from caving in. So before we even talk about snowball versus avalanche strategies, before we discuss how to automate your payments or call your bank, we have to address this core misconception. You have been told that you need to be better at tracking, but I'm telling you that you need to be better at understanding. You don't need more columns in your spreadsheet. You need more honesty with yourself about why you're reaching for that card in the first place. If you're just paying off the debt without addressing the emotional hunger that created it, you're playing a game of whack-a-mole. You will pay off one card only to see another balance grow. It's a cycle that millions of people are trapped in year after year, thinking they just need to try harder with their budget.
But what if trying harder is the trap? What if the key isn't more discipline, but a completely different kind of inquiry? Once you peel back the layers of these behavioral patterns, everything about your financial strategy changes. You'll stop fighting against your own brain, and you'll start working with it. Now that we've established that your debt is a symptom of something deeper, it's time to look under the hood. Psychologists like Dr. Brad Klontz have spent years identifying what they call money scripts. These are the unconscious, core beliefs you hold about money that you inherited, learned, or absorbed as a child. They are the invisible rules of your financial life, and until you drag these scripts out into the light, they will keep running your life from the shadows. Let's look at the 4 big ones. First, there's money avoidance. This script says that money is bad, or that having money makes you a bad person. If you operate under this script, you will unconsciously sabotage your own success. You'll pay off a debt only to immediately find a way to blow your extra cash because deep down you're uncomfortable with the idea of having too much. Second, there's money worship. You believe that money is the singular key to happiness. You think if you just had a little more, your problems would vanish. This script is what fuels the lifestyle creep we talked about. It keeps you on a treadmill of status signaling, buying the car, the house, the watch, all to convince the world and yourself that you finally made it. Third, there's money status. This is the belief that your net worth is your self-worth. You feel invisible if you don't have the latest version of everything. You're terrified of being perceived as broke, so you borrow money you don't have to impress people you don't even like. And finally, there's money vigilance. You're hyper-anxious, constantly tracking every penny, terrified that at any moment the floor will drop out from under you. While this sounds like it should keep you out of debt, it actually leads to severe decision fatigue and paralysis. Here is the twist that most financial gurus won't tell you. You can sit down today, tighten your belt, and use the snowball method to pay off every single one of your credit cards. You can feel the rush of hitting that zero balance, but if you walk away from that experience without rewriting the script, you are just waiting for the next crisis. 2 years later, you will find yourself in the exact same spot, right back on the bathroom floor, calculator in hand, wondering how on earth you let this happen again. Why? Because the script hasn't changed. The underlying logic that told you that shopping cures my anxiety or I need this to be respected is still operational. You've changed the numbers on the screen, but you haven't changed the program. And that is why this feels like a psychological investigation, because it is. If you view your finances like a crime scene, the crime is the debt, but the suspect is the part of your brain that still believes you aren't enough without the purchase. I want you to look at your last 3 months of bank statements. Don't look at the totals, look at the patterns. When did you spend the most? Was it after a tough meeting? Was it on a Friday afternoon when you were feeling lonely? Was it after you compared yourself to a friend on Instagram? Identify the trigger. That's your script in action. You see, the financial system is perfectly designed to exploit these scripts. Advertisers know exactly how to trigger money status or money worship. They aren't selling you a product, they're selling you a way to soothe your internal script. They know you're anxious, they know you're insecure, and they have a shelf full of solutions that just happen to come with an APR of 24%. So when we talk about being debt-free, we aren't just talking about paying off a lender, we are talking about becoming ungovernable. We are talking about reclaiming your autonomy from the programs that have been running your life since you were a kid. Most people are too afraid to do this work. They'd rather just pay the debt and pretend it never happened. They'd rather be disciplined than be honest. But if you want to break the cycle once and for all, you have to be willing to look at the patterns you've been ignoring. You have to be willing to call yourself out, because the math won't save you. Only your self-awareness will. We're going to move into the framework for how to actually build that awareness. But first, I need you to ask yourself, which script is driving you? Which one of these 4 narratives has been writing your financial life story? Because until you name the script, you cannot rewrite the ending. And trust me, you are going to want to rewrite this ending. How do we actually do this? How do we move from understanding our money scripts to actually changing our financial reality? It's not by willpower alone. Willpower is a finite resource. It runs out by 5 p.m. after a long day of work. To win this game, we need to design a system that works even when your motivation is in the gutter. We need to focus on what psychologists call visualizing the future self. Most people trying to pay off debt are living in a state of perpetual scarcity. They see a mountain of debt and they see a future version of themselves that is still just as stressed. That's the problem. If you can't see the version of you that is free, you'll never have the motivation to get there. I want you to try this. Close your eyes and imagine the day that last debt pays clear. Don't think about the money, think about the silence. Think about the way your shoulders will feel when they aren't carrying the weight of a monthly obligation.
That feeling, that profound, quiet confidence, is what you are actually buying when you pay off that debt. You aren't buying freedom from a lender, you are buying your future self. Research published in the Harvard Business Review on the power of quick wins confirms exactly why this works. When you tackle your smallest debt first, the classic snowball approach, you get an immediate chemical reaction in your brain. That first zero balance is a hit of dopamine. It's the same reward circuit that was previously hijacked by impulsive shopping, but now it's being rewired to serve a higher purpose. When you see that balance hit zero, your brain stops screaming, "I'm losing," and starts whispering, "I'm capable." That shift is monumental. It changes your identity from someone who is bad with money to someone who is building a future. You have to gamify this. Get a physical chart, put it on your fridge, and color it in. Make the progress visible. Your brain needs to see the enemy shrinking. It needs to see the gap between who you are now and who you are becoming. And this is where we bring in the system, because you cannot trust your future self to be smarter than your current self if you don't build the guardrails today. First, you automate. I'm talking about moving the money out of your account the exact moment your paycheck hits. If you see the money, you will find a way to spend it. But if you don't see it, you won't miss it. You have to remove the decision-making process entirely. Turn your financial progress into a machine that runs in the background, like an app you can't close. Second, you have to audit your environment. Look at the influencers you follow, the friends you hang out with, and the sites you visit. If your environment is constantly telling you that your worth is tied to your consumption, you are fighting a losing battle. You need to curate a digital environment that rewards future you instead of current you. Finally, you need to practice intentional friction. If you find that you're still shopping impulsively, make it inconvenient. Delete the saved cards from your browser, unsubscribe from the marketing emails that make you feel like you're missing out, and put a 48-hour rule on any non-essential purchase. That friction gives your future self time to step in and have a conversation with your current self. This is how you reconstruct your identity. It's not about being frugal, it's about being protective. You are protecting the version of yourself that is wealthy, secure, and free. You are saying to the world and to your own bank account that you are no longer willing to trade your future for a moment of fleeting pleasure. I know this sounds like a lot. I know you just wanted a quick fix, but the reason you've been stuck is that you've been looking for the easy road, and the easy road is the one that got you into this mess. The road to genuine financial freedom is paved with these small, intentional choices. You aren't just paying off a credit card, you are dismantling an identity that has been holding you back. You are shedding the skin of a person who needed external validation to feel whole, and you are stepping into the skin of someone who owns their own choices. Once you start seeing this as a process of self-discovery rather than self-deprivation, the entire journey shifts. It stops being about what you can't have, and it becomes entirely about what you are going to create. And once you reach that point, once you really believe that you are the architect of your own life, that's when the debt becomes just a chapter in your past and the future becomes a blank page that belongs entirely to you. You are closer to that silence than you think. You just have to be willing to do the internal work that the rest of the world is too impatient to touch. So where do we go from here? You've got the map, you understand the psychology, and you know the system. It boils down to 3 non-negotiables. First, identify your money script. Name the unconscious belief that's been sabotaging your bank account. Second, audit your environment. Change the triggers that keep you reaching for that credit card. And third, automate your prosperity. Build the machine that protects your future self even when you're not paying attention. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being intentional. It's about finally realizing that you are in the driver's seat. The debt didn't happen because you're a failure. It happened because you were playing a game by rules that weren't designed for your success. Now, you're rewriting those rules. I want to do something a little different today. I don't want you to comment below about how much debt you're in or what your balance is, because that doesn't change anything. Instead, I want you to be brutally honest with yourself and with this community. What is the reason you felt you needed to spend that money in the first place? What was the emotional hunger you were trying to feed? Share it in the comments. Let's actually decode the why, because when you bring that story out into the light, you take away its power. You've got the tools now. The silence on the other side of that zero balance, it's waiting for you. It's time to stop paying for your past and start building your future. You are smarter than your scripts, and you are stronger than your debt. Now, go make it happen.